from the team you count on every day. This is 10 News Midday. We now interrupt this program for a 10 News special report.
Gentlemen, by the authority contained in the rules adopted by the 1992 Republican National Convention, the Republican National Committee has directed that the 1996 Republican...
Well, coming up on 10 News Midday, we'll have live coverage from the two most experienced reporters in San Diego and commentary from ABC political analyst Hal Bruno.
What is really going on behind the scenes at the convention this week?
Karen Feld is the commentator on Capitol Connection. She is with us now to dish. Let's dish. Let's talk about some of this stuff.
That's right. You know, our instinct is to start right with our very own governor, who will not play any type of role at this convention. He was asked to speak, and then that was taken away. He was dissed.
I actually ran into Pete Wilson the other day, Saturday. And this, of course, is after this whole incident. And he was kind of roaming around, being unnoticed. And I walked up to him, and I know him. I covered him in Washington when he was in the Senate. And actually, I lived out here when he was mayor, so way back. But I said, you know, how do you feel about it? And this, of course, is before his staff got to him to put all the spin on it. And he said, well, you know, he thought Dole was really being very childish about the whole thing, and that was his word. And he was really very angry and very bitter, very upset. And I can understand that. I mean, face it, he was so instrumental in getting the convention here and started way back in '72. And as he said, that wasn't the time and this was the time. But unfortunately, this wasn't his time either to be on a ticket or apparently even to be on the program.
But see, Karen, Pete Wilson and Bob Dole think alike on this abortion issue, which was really where the fight was going to be on the floor. So why? And all along now, the rest of the weekend, he's been saying publicly he doesn't think Dole was responsible for pulling him off the dais. He thinks it was Barber and the rest of the RNC.
Well, I think it's a combination. I think so much of this is based on personalities, not just issues. And I think that's one of the reasons that Bob Dole gave in and chose Jack Kemp as his running mate. I mean, not that Kemp and Dole have been friends, believe me. I mean, there's been a lot of tension. But Kemp is one of these guys that everybody likes. And that's the press, which is a very important group. Even Democrats, it's like Ronald Reagan. People like charisma. Jack Kemp personally. It's the closest thing we have to a hero other than Colin Powell, who, by the way, I also understand is going to give a very strong endorsement tonight, which is kind of surprising. But I think that what Kemp has done is energize the tickets, energize the whole thing, and he's really upstaged everybody, including Governor Wilson, everybody else around here. I mean, don't forget, Kemp not only is the national sort of cheerleader and all this stuff in the ticket. Kemp is originally from San Diego, so here you have a Californian, a San Diegan, you know, going back to his Charger days. And I think that there's a lot of San Diegans around who are playing important roles behind the scenes this week, who have been very close to Jack for a long time, also that we should watch. One of them is Gordon Luce. He's had some big parties. I went to a party at his home in Point Loma on Saturday evening for the Capitol Gang and CNN. He had one last night for the governors. And he had said that when Kemp was with the Chargers, they were neighbors over in Sunset Cliffs. And Kemp calls him all the time. And, you know, even up to 2 weeks ago, Jack was not planning to come to the convention.
Is that right?
Wow.
So this is a whole, I guess Joanne had to go out and get a wardrobe quick, you know, to be the potential second lady. But I think it's a very, very exciting time. Now, there's other people besides Pete Wilson who have been disappointed this week.
And who?
One of those is South Carolina former Governor Carol Campbell.
Right.
Well, I also ran into last night, and coincidentally, this was at a big CNN party. I should mention other networks on here, but they had a lot of big-name people there. And Governor Campbell was there getting ready to go to dinner with his wife and with Dan Quayle and his wife. So apparently Quayle was going to console him and tell him, hey, it's not that great a job anyway. Okay. We'll see how we feel about that.
Don't be so disappointed. Now, you've got your finger on the pulse of all these people in these high places. The dissension that we get the feel that the RNC is trying to cover up, how deep is that, do you gather, or is it? On issues like abortion?
I think what they're trying to do, they don't want this convention to be like what a typical stereotype Democratic National Convention is, with all the different...
like the Republican one.
Well, when Buchanan gave his compassionate speech 4 years ago, certainly. Right. And I think that they're smart. What they need is to come out of here with a unified thing. Don't forget, this was a non-event. Kemp has lent the energy to it, the momentum to the ticket. It's only going to go on if they can really come out with a message that's unified. I mean, Bob Dole has a difficult enough time staying on message. In fact, Bob Novak the other night was saying at a party, he was so excited, it was like the inside power, because Bob Dole called him before he announced Kemp as his running mate, and he said, I think what he was trying to say is that he was going to announce Kemp as his running mate, but it's like nobody really understands Bob Dole's message. So it's important that the RNC get behind him and get as much of a unification as they can on issues.
Let me get your take on this one second, Karen. One of the things that Kemp, I think, also brings to the ticket, even though he's 61, which is because surprises
young, we're all gonna be there one day.
A lot of people, he's still 12 years younger than Bob Dole. Sure. How big an issue in the party is Dole's age?
People very privately are talking about it. They're reminded of Ronald Reagan. I don't think it helps, and it's very sad now with Reagan's Alzheimer's, but I don't think that helps when people think of age. There's still those kind of stereotypes. Bob Dole appears to have a lot of energy. I did a very interesting piece in the September issue of George magazine, which is just out, comparing Dole and Clinton's health. And I did pictures with body parts and problem and remedy and little arrows, so if you pick that up. Yeah. It's the one with Marilyn Monroe on the cover, and it's a funny piece, but I do think it's an issue. It's a concern. Sure. And I think that it's one of the things that being a second person on the ticket, realistically, should the ticket win or should it lose, Kemp is in a great position. Look at 4 years from now, and you look at, it's early, but everybody's looking ahead at Kemp-Gore race. Kemp's got a lot more energy. All right. I think what sums it up is John Sununu last night. He says, any ticket is a good ticket. It's all showbiz.
That's right. It's all and boy, isn't it?
Karen, you're going to stick around. Right.
Be
Come
happy
back.
to.
Okay.
Karen Feld,
Good.
Capital Connection.
Team you count on every day. This is 10 News Midday.
Welcome back. We've got the word on what's really going on behind the scenes at the convention this week.
Joining us once again, Karen Feld, commentator on Capital Connection, who has been dishing the dirt with us about some of these things. I saw, pardon me, in Pat Buchanan's speech in Escondido, I saw Ollie North, a blast from the past.
I saw Ollie right afterwards last night at another party, and everybody likes to take credit for everything in this game, and it is a game.
Sure.
So Ollie was saying that he went to Escondido, and by the way, he got a very cool reception there. But he was saying that he was the one responsible for encouraging Pat Buchanan to endorse Dole, and he told me that last night. And of course, Pat Buchanan really hadn't endorsed Dole. Yeah. A truce is only a truce temporary, and what happens after everybody leaves San Diego and goes back on the campaign trail. And I think a written statement from Pat Buchanan is not exactly a strong endorsement either when you consider Pat Buchanan, who is a very impassioned speaker, whatever you think about Pat Buchanan. I mean, he's an incredible speaker. And a written statement just doesn't do it. So I'm not sure how strong this endorsement is, and I think that through the rest of the campaign, we can look at a little tension there. I also think another person to watch is Newt Gingrich. And Newt's having fun here because he loves the zoo, and in fact, a few weeks ago, he even did an overnight at the Wild Animal Park.
Yes.
But Newt and Jack Kemp go way back to the 70s when they came into Congress together and were very, very close friends, and have been. But there is a lot of tension between the House and Senate leader, and that's Bob Dole and Newt. So I think you're going to see a lot of blaming one another for legislation that didn't get through and what didn't happen. So I think we need to watch that. But I think the other thing on that is that one thing Jack Kemp is really going to do is help Republicans get elected to Congress this year. I mean, I think that he's going to have a lot of strength in that area. There would be some coattails for Kemp where there wouldn't be coattails for Dole, you think? I think so. I really think so. There's a energy, and he's got a huge following.
Does he have enough, because Bill brought this up, to draw some of those folks from the Reform Party over, from Perot and those?
That's a difficult question. I don't know how many of them are left. You know, I don't.
Well, apparently last night in Long Beach there appeared to be.
Well, people like events, and a couple thousand, but what does a couple thousand mean in the whole scheme of, you know, all the people out there? I'm not sure that it matters a lot.
They're not as big as they were in 92, basically.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the impact. No, I don't. They're definitely not as big as they were.
Karen, we had mentioned a second ago there's going to be a lot more partying going on. You're going to be schmoozing and moving in and out.
There's a lot of partying this week because there's not a lot happening on the convention floor.
Right.
And the partying also for these people has always been a lot of fun. And this is the first time, I've been covering political conventions for 20 years. This is the first time we've actually had a convention of either party in a city that is perfect weather, on the water, where with beaches and boats, and everybody's just having such a good time. I mean, a beach party with Frankie Avalon, Planet Hollywood, John Weston.
There, didn't they?
Oh,
So we'll
yeah.
expect to hear back from you on some more of this good
That would be
stuff.
great.
All right.
Get out there and rub those elbows.
I plan to.
Karen Feld, thanks. It's fun having
Thank you all.
Thank you very much. You're watching the KUSI Morning News live here from the Embarcadero Park South, right across from the Convention Center. And thank you for the birthday tribute. I want to get right to our next guest. She is a nationally syndicated columnist. She's also on Prodigy. She's on the Information Highway. She also has her own radio show. Has contributed to George Magazine, Vanity Fair, Vogue, you name it. And she's done it. And she is definitely in. And you can tell by her brightly colored apparel that, yes, Karen Feld is not only patriotic, but once lived in San Diego and Los Angeles. I'll bet you stand out in D.C., don't you?
Well, I love the West Coast, I have to tell you. The political scene is happening in Washington, but it's fun to come out here and always fun to come back. You know, our mayor was even here, Marion Barry, who is not so popular in Washington.
The city's broke, and he's at La Costa putting on parties?
Not only is he at La Costa putting on parties, I'm staying down in La Jolla, and I was running out to do something early the other morning, and I saw him in our hotel having breakfast and asking the front desk people, where's the mayor of La Jolla? I want to meet him, not realizing that, of course, there isn't one.
Yes,
So,
while the trash is not being picked up and they're laying off police officers
we'll
in
see more time on the
D.C.
inauguration when that's done.
I'm sure we will. Let's talk about, let's get some insight, I guess some perspective that we couldn't possibly get on whatever the buzz is now regarding Jack Kemp, regarding Bob Dole.
Clearly, Kemp has added energy to the ticket, and everyone is staying around here, and it's made this convention really, really exciting, even though there's not a lot to be decided on the floor and not a lot of dissension, which is terrific. Kemp has lent an energy to the ticket, and people really believe it has a chance now that they didn't. Now, it takes me interesting. I've run into a lot.
Do you think it does? I mean, of course they're going to think that here because they want to.
I think it's a race. I think it's a race. I think they've got to work hard, but I think it's a race, and they're doing a good job. It's interesting. I've run into a lot of the party social scene around here, and also on the floor last night, a lot of Jack Kemp's former House colleagues when he was in Congress. And the interesting thing is they have like clubs within clubs, and Congress itself is sort of an exclusive club. And then there's another club, which is mostly conservative Republicans, within it called Chowder and Marching. And this group started after World War II, and there's only been 100 members of it, both deceased now and current. And each year they take maybe two of the kind of the freshman congressmen that they think have a real future and are really outstanding. And Jack Kemp was a member, and all, in fact, of the 4 finalists for vice president were members of this group. Carol Campbell, John McCain, Connie Mack. So it's, and in fact, Dan Quayle was a member, Richard Nixon,
and so the stars are kind of picked out early.
But they're very loyal to one another. That's a fun...
This line we talked about between the whole celebrity bit and the whole political thing being increasingly blurred. Now, you've contributed to George Magazine,
right. And John Kennedy is a celebrity in his own right. He had a party at the zoo the other night.
Which was so exclusive. I mean, so exclusive. What's the deal on that? Just making some, his presence felt...
Well, I think he's very serious about this magazine and putting it out, and I think he's here working just as his mother, Jackie, went to Doubleday every day when she worked there as an editor. He goes into George every day.
But the only people who were there at the party were insiders anyway. We're talking about, I mean, publishers and Norman Mailer and the like.
Well, it was Norman Mailer and his cousin Maria Shriver, and there were a lot of media people, but Arianna Huffington and...
Give me a read on Arianna Huffington. She has certainly made her presence in many diverse ways.
Everywhere.
And she's going to be here today as well.
Oh, she's very bright. She is very close to Newt. And, of course, is doing a column now.
Does she tick off the establishment, if that's how we want to refer to the...
She's controversial. Let's put it that way in Washington. Definitely controversial.
And that was the most politically correct way to do it. So we can listen to you. Capital Connections comes out, and then you have, News Talk. Well, you've won all kinds of awards. Capital Connections, and you also have a weekly radio segment on Dateline Washington. Thank you so much, Karen Feld, for being with us. All right, come back again. All right.
From the team you count on every day, this is 10 News Midday.
Well,
welcome back. How do the Republican delegates spend their time away from the convention center? Karen Feld from Capital Connections knows how, and she is joining us live again this midday with the inside word on all of those parties that we keep hearing about.
There have just been hundreds of them this week, Lisa. And
how'd you keep up, Karen?
Well, I did the best I could. Got a little sleep in between. But there was a wonderful clam bake the other night that the Senatorial Committee had down on the beach. And that was great. In fact, Bill Paxton, who is Susan Molinari, the keynoter's husband and chairman of the Congressional Campaign Committee, is a big party for him tonight at Belmont Park on the beach. And those are fun because it's real San Diego and people actually bring clothes to change into after they leave the center.
They can kind of let loose.
Normally, people are just schmoozing and politicking and networking and changing business cards.
That's what I want to know. You know, what goes on at a political party? You know, is it like, you know, regular folks, you have maybe a little dancing, a little schmoozing, but
people are there to do business. Everybody has an agenda. Everybody's here to do business. Delegates have fun, but most of the Washington people, a lot of lobbyists, media, everybody's really working, really networking, making the contacts, changing the cards. Assessing the situation. I mean, Bob Dole has got to give the best speech of his career tonight or this ticket's not going to happen. And he can be a pretty flat speaker. Elizabeth was just marvelous last night, where she did her Oprah thing in the audience. But there is a replica of the podium that they've set up on the 33rd floor of the Hyatt Hotel, where they want to keep rehearsing Dole. And his problem is he doesn't like to rehearse. He sort of doesn't like to be told what to do and does his own thing and surprises people.
So what's the inside word on how he's feeling today?
Well, I think he knows that this is important, and I think they're going to make him actually go up there and rehearse. And he's been rehearsing. They've been changing the speeches.
We saw him live on the convention floor just 2 minutes ago, and it is a good idea to get down there and look, because even though you've been seeing this convention on television, I went down for the first time yesterday.
Very different feeling.
It is very different, a very different feel.
I was on the floor last night for Elizabeth, and it's very different. It's very crowded, and you're right there with the people, and it's quite different. But this is a TV convention. As a matter of fact, one of the things I heard last night, which is interesting, and of course this is sort of a Democratic spin, is that if Elizabeth Dole was still chairman of the FTC, she would probably get an injunction for false advertising on this convention for the public, because it has nothing to do with the platform. It is so slick for television.
So different.
The platform is conservative.
Karen, that's our time. You have been terrific. Thank you,
Lisa.
Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure.